There's one habit that can make you rich, happy, successful, and it can make all of your dreams come true. And I'm going to tell you what this habit is by sharing with you a quick story. This is Chris, and Chris was born into a fairly regular family, and his parents really pressured him to go to college. And like most kids, Chris never really questioned the idea of college. His parents went to college, his smart friends at school were going to college, and the successful people in Hollywood movies usually went to college. And the only thing that Chris really wanted in his life was to make his parents proud. And just the thought of them not being proud of him would mean that he would be a failure, and he couldn't let this happen. So Chris went to college, and he had no idea what he wanted to major in. But he was a very smart kid, so his friends and family told him that he should go into medicine. If you're smart enough to be a doctor and you don't hate the idea of being a doctor, then you should be a doctor, his dad would tell him. And his friends would tell him that, dude, girls love doctors and they make so much money and society just respects them so much. You should totally do it. So because Chris liked the sound of all of this, and he did want to make his parents proud, he decided to give it a shot. Becoming a doctor can't be a bad idea, especially if I don't hate it, Chris thought to himself. So after 8 years of studying, he had become a working doctor, and soon he started to make a lot of money, and he became respected by his peers, and his family really was proud of him. And soon after that, he met a really lovely girl, and she came from a good family, and she had good morals, and she was a kind person. And in a few years, they got married, and they even had 2 kids. And similar to how Chris didn't really question the idea of going to college, he didn't really question his life path, because why would he? He had money, status, he married a girl that most guys would want to be with. He had everything that society and his family viewed as success. And he lived like this until he was 40 years old. But at the age of 40, Chris started to feel weird. He found himself just kind of going through the motions of his life, and everything became such a routine. He would get up in the morning, drive to work, do his job, drive home, run on the treadmill, and then he would go to sleep. There was no reason for me to be feeling like this, Chris thought to himself. I have everything that most people want. I've done everything right. And he couldn't figure out what was going on. But it wasn't until his parents died when Chris's life took a really dark turn. The people who he had wanted to make proud had passed away, so he was no longer under the spell of their judgment, and his life goal of making them proud was kind of irrelevant because they were gone. Chris had no idea how to handle his emotions. He felt like there was this giant hole inside of him, and he had no idea how to fill it. He couldn't really afford to just stop working and to rethink his whole life. I mean, he was a fully grown man. He had a wife and 2 kids that he had to provide for. Chris's life was no longer just about him, and he had to take care of the responsibilities that he had created for himself. And Chris spent the rest of his life with that hole inside of him. He never felt whole, he never felt complete, and he died full of emptiness. The sad thing about this is that Chris's life is actually very common, but instead of becoming a doctor, it could be becoming an accountant or a teacher or even a plumber. But the underlying problem is always the same, and it's that most people have no idea what they want to do with their life, or they feel like something is missing in their life. So right now, I'm going to tell you the easy solution to this problem. The one habit that will kill that feeling of emptiness, and the one habit that can make you rich, happy, and fulfilled is to practice something called self-awareness. And the technical definition of self-awareness is conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. I'll explain what this means through an example. I think most of us here would like to be rich one day, but what does being rich really mean to you? Is it having $5 million, or is it simply having $50,000? Because $50,000 goes a long way in certain countries. Is being rich even about money to you? Would you rather be rich in health, energy, vitality, or rich in freedom and family? Or is it a combination of all of these things? We all want to be rich in some way, but almost none of us have actually defined what being rich means to us. And the only way to actually figure this out is to become self-aware, which is something that Chris never did in any aspect of his life, from going to college to the girl he married and choosing his career path. And I think it's the career path that makes a lot of us scared and and frustrated because we are always asking ourselves, what am I passionate about? What actually makes me happy in my life? But oftentimes we just don't know what that thing is. If you don't know exactly what you want to do with your life, then you have to start trying new things. And a great place to start this is by checking out a website called Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that can teach you any skill you want, and they have over 25,000 classes in design, business, technology. They can even teach you how to create animated YouTube videos like the one you're watching right now. And it's totally free for the first 2 months if you use my link in the description box below. But this is an exclusive offer that will not last forever. So if you click the link and it's still there, well, consider yourself lucky. So go to the website, pick a course, and then pay attention to how you feel when you're going through the course. And if you feel energized and excited, then you should keep doing that thing, because life is too short to do something that you don't love to do. Check out my last video about how to instantly read anyone. I'll see you there.